Hello hockey fans, and welcome back to another episode of Whatever Happened To, the series where we take a where are they now look at players who found success in the National Hockey League but are no longer permanent fixtures in the league, either due to controversy, poor play, or just rotten luck. In today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at a 15-year veteran of the league and a 7-time 20-goal scorer, as we ask, whatever happened to Mike Cammalleri? Before we begin, this video is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped is the #1 provider of men's below-the-belt grooming, trusted by over 2 million customers worldwide, thanks to their precision-engineered tools that help you take care of what's down there. Now, you've heard me talk about Manscaped's Perfect Package 3.0 kit over the last few weeks, so you know how the variety of products it provides can help you look good and smell great. But the folks at Manscaped haven't stopped there. Having spent some time working away in their labs, Manscaped have some pretty big news to announce, as they have just released a brand new Signature Scent Refined Cologne. Presented in a beautifully designed glass bottle and scented with their signature formulas, Manscaped's new cologne will be the perfect wingman to keep you fresh for whatever life throws your way. With a calming and inviting citrus burst, followed by a velvet woodsy finish, it will no doubt make a fine addition to your ever-growing collection. It's also hypoallergenic, paraben-free, and 100% vegan, so regardless of your preferences, you know that you are using a product that not only leaves you smelling great, it's safe for both your skin and the environment. So if you want to try out their new cologne for yourself, pick up the Perfect Package 3.0 kit, or help support the channel a little bit further, head on over to manscaped.com and use the promo code OddManRush20 for 20% off your order plus free shipping. That's manscaped.com and promo code OddManRush20 for 20% off your order plus free shipping. Manscaped. Look good, smell good, feel good. But anyway, back to the video. The 49th overall pick of the 2001 NHL draft by the Los Angeles Kings, Mike Cammalleri would spend the following 01-02 season at the NCAA's University of Michigan, where he continued his strong play from years past by scoring 44 points in just 29 games. This performance would earn Cammalleri several collegiate awards, including a place on the 2002 All-Tournament team and first-team All-American, as well as an entry-level contract with the Kings, who signed him to a 2-year deal before subsequently inviting him to their pre-season training camp for the upcoming 02-03 NHL season. From there, the Canadian forward would spend the next 2 years split between the Kings and their AHL affiliate, the Manchester Monarchs, where he was able to make an impact on the scoreboard at both levels, thanks to potting 59 points in 54 AHL games, along with 23 points in 59 NHL games. So by the conclusion of the 03-04 season, Camalleri's point-per-game performance in the minors and gradually improving play in the bigs had helped him climb several spots on the Kings' depth chart. The forward was right on the cusp of making it to the NHL, he just needed to find a little more consistency in his game when facing off against the best players in the world. But first, there was a lockout! During the 04-05 lockout season, Cammalleri would spend the year back in the AHL with Manchester, and to say that he made the most of his opportunity down there would be an understatement. The former second-round pick would dominate the scoreboard all year long by notching a whopping 46 goals and 109 points in just 79 regular season games, good enough for second in the league in scoring, only behind Jason Spezza. Not only that, the Canadian forward also earned a place on the AHL's second All-Star team, was given the Willie Marshall Award as the league's leading goalscorer, and added a further 6 points in 6 playoff games too. So it's safe to say that Cammalleri had one hell of a season. Once the lockout had finally come to an end and the 05-06 NHL season commenced, Camalleri's outstanding performance in the minors would secure him another stint on the Kings roster, having recently signed a 1-year contract worth roughly $850,000 with the team. Not only would he stick around for the entire year and make this deal look like an absolute bargain for LA thanks to potting 26 goals and 55 points in 80 games, the former second-round pick would go on to play the next 2 seasons of his career exclusively with the Kings, which included an impressive 34-goal, 80-point year during the following 06-07 season. having scored 205 points in 283 NHL games with the Kings, and having finished the 07-08 season with half the point totals than the year prior, thanks to being sidelined with a rib injury for 20 games, the Kings decided that it was time to move on from their star forward. As Cammalleri prepared to enter the second season of a 2-year, $6.7 million contract, and with negotiations for said contract being rumoured to be contentious at best, on June 20th, 2008, it was announced that Los Angeles had traded Cammalleri to the Calgary Flames, along with a 2008 second-round pick, in exchange for a 2008 first-rounder and a 2009 second-rounder. So after parts of 5 seasons in California, Cammalleri was leaving the only NHL team he had ever known and was moving north of the border for the first time in his pro career. Though his most recent performance may have led some fans to be skeptical about his upcoming play, the 26-year-old was about to prove all of his doubters wrong. The 08-09 season would see Cammalleri suit up for the Flames for the first time and look to make a strong first impression with his new NHL team. Luckily for both the player and the organisation, the forward would put on quite the show. Playing on the team's first line alongside Flames legend Jarome Iginla, Cammalleri would light the lamp all year long, finishing the season with an incredible 39 goals and 82 points in 81 games, the most goals and points of his entire 15-year NHL career. He would also add 3 points in 6 playoff games as Calgary once again clinched a postseason berth, but just like each of the previous 4 seasons before that, the Flames were once again eliminated in the first round, this time by the Chicago Blackhawks. Once the season had come to an end and the final year of his contract was up, Cammalleri entered the market as an unrestricted free agent after the Flames were unable to re-sign him due to salary cap constraints. Thanks to his consistently strong play over the last few seasons, and with him being right in the middle of his prime, the 27-year-old would get his payday and then some. On July 1st, 2009, Cammalleri signed a 5-year, $30 million contract worth an average annual value of $6 million a season with the Montreal Canadiens. Having just signed the biggest, most expensive contract of his entire NHL career, Cammalleri had cashed in on his point-per-game performance in Calgary, had secured his finances for the foreseeable future, and was staying north of the border in order to suit up for one of the league's oldest and most successful franchises. However, the forward wouldn't stay in Quebec for as long as anyone had originally intended. The 09-10 NHL season saw Cammalleri don the Bleu, Blanc et Rouge of Montreal for the very first time, and though he would continue to put up solid scoring numbers with his new team, he would be unable to reach the same career-high levels of years past. Despite missing 6 weeks of his debut year with the team thanks to a knee injury, the former second-round pick finished the season with 26 goals and 50 points in 65 games, good enough for 3rd place in scoring on the entire Habs roster. Not only that, Camalleri's play would also lead Montreal to the 2010 Eastern Conference Finals, as he went on to score 13 goals and 19 points in 19 playoff games, but the Canadiens were eventually knocked out of the semi-final round by the Philadelphia Flyers. So although he couldn't produce the same point-per-game numbers as years past, Camalleri's strong postseason run had ensured that he would be welcomed by his new organisation with open arms. Unfortunately though, things only went downhill from there. The following 10-11 season saw Cammalleri suit up in his sophomore year with the Habs and produce a very similar performance to his first stint with the team, both in his point production and in the number of games he played. After missing a month of the season thanks to a separated shoulder, Cammalleri went on to notch 19 goals and 47 points in 67 games, good enough for second on the team in scoring, despite potting 3 less points in 2 more games played. He did produce 10 points in 7 playoff games though, but Montreal failed to go on another deep playoff run, as they were eliminated in the first round of the playoffs by the Boston Bruins. Having produced 97 points in 132 games as a member of the Habs, and having finished as one of the team's top scorers in both seasons he'd played with them, Cammalleri may have struggled to stay healthy from one year to the next, but he had certainly held up his end of the bargain on the box score. However, the forward's tenure with the team would soon come to an end. The 11-12 season would see Cammalleri begin the year with the Canadiens once more and continue to put up his usual scoring numbers by potting 22 points in the first 38 games of the year. That is, until January 12, 2012, when it was announced that Montreal had traded Cammalleri back to the Calgary Flames, along with Kari Ramo and a 2012 fifth-round pick, in exchange for René Bourque, Patrick Holland and a 2013 second-round pick. Interestingly though, this transaction came under rather unique circumstances, as Cammalleri was informed of the trade while the Habs were in the middle of a game against the Boston Bruins, prompting the forward to quickly remove himself from the lineup and return to his former team. Being traded before or after a game is a pretty common occurrence, but for it to happen while a game is being played is practically unheard of. But anyway, having returned to his former organisation, Cammalleri would spend the rest of the year with Calgary and score 19 points in 28 games for his efforts, bringing his full season totals to 20 goals and 41 points in 66 games. So although he had left Montreal under rather bizarre circumstances, Cammalleri had rejoined the Flames for his second stint with the team and had finished the year strong by scoring at a more consistent pace after he joined Calgary. Though several years had passed since his previous tenure with the franchise, and he wasn't as young as he was the first time around, the 30-year-old forward still had plenty of great hockey left in him. But first, there was another lockout! During the 12-13 lockout, Cammalleri decided that instead of spending a few months back down in the minors, or taking his talents overseas instead, he would rest up and continue his off-season preparations until the NHL season got underway. Not the most exciting choice he could have made, but considering he had already spent parts of 9 seasons in the league, and he had failed to play more than 70 games in a year since 2007, I don't really blame him for wanting to keep himself healthy a little bit longer, you know. Once the lockout came to its eventual end and the season finally began, Cammalleri would quickly return to the Flames roster and look to pick up where he left off during his half-season stint the year prior. In fact, Cammalleri would spend the next 2 seasons of his career playing exclusively with the team, and though he would be unable to replicate his point-per-game performance during his first year with the team in 08-09, the Canadian forward would still provide solid scoring numbers for the team, as he potted 32 points in 44 games during the lockout-shortened year, before adding 45 points in 63 games during the following 13-14 season. After his 5-year contract that he had originally signed back with Montreal had expired, and having scored 96 points in 135 games over the last 2.5 seasons, history seemed to repeat itself as Cammalleri once again went to the market as an unrestricted free agent. Just like the first time around, it wouldn't take long for the forward to find a new team, as on July 1st, 2014, Cammalleri signed a 5-year, $25 million contract worth an average annual value of $5 million a season with the New Jersey Devils. So thanks to his consistently strong scoring numbers over the last half a decade, and thanks to his continued effectiveness as a top 6 forward, the 32-year-old had just put pen to paper on another long-term high-value contract that would see him earn a sizable chunk of change into the latter years of his career. Unfortunately though, this deal wouldn't reach its conclusion. Over the next 3 years of his career, Cammalleri would take to the ice with the Devils and look to keep up his strong scoring numbers as he entered his mid-30s. Though his debut year with the team would put him on the right track, thanks to notching 27 goals and 42 points in 68 games, the following 15-16 season would see the ageing forward turn back the clock, as he scored 14 goals and 38 points in just 42 regular season games, his best points per game average since his career-high season with Calgary 6 years ago. That said, Father Time would soon catch up to Cammalleri, as his strong start was soon followed by a season-ending hand injury in January of 2016, meaning the opportunity to register his most productive season in years had passed him by. Unfortunately though, Camalleri's recent injury troubles, coupled with him entering the twilight years of his career, would cause his 3rd season on the team to be his most disappointing one yet, as the former second-round pick potted 10 goals and 31 points in 61 regular season games during the 16-17 season. Not terrible numbers by any stretch, especially for a 35-year-old, but considering this was his worst single-season output since his sophomore stint in the league back in 03-04, yeah, it was a pretty down year by Cammalleri standards. This gradual decline in his production, coupled with his hefty yearly cap hit, prompted the Devils to bring an abrupt end to the forward's tenure with the team. On June 30th, 2017, it was announced that New Jersey had bought out the final 2 years of Camalleri's contract, thus immediately making him an unrestricted free agent. Though he had just been unceremoniously dropped by his now former franchise, the Canadian forward wouldn't have to wait long to find another team in the league interested in his services, as on July 1st, 2017, Cammalleri signed a 1-year, $1 million contract with the Los Angeles Kings. So after spending the past 9 seasons of his career playing for 3 different teams elsewhere in the league, Cammalleri was returning to sunny California in order to rejoin the franchise that had drafted him over 16 years ago. However, this reunion wouldn't last for very long. The 17-18 season would see Cammalleri suit up for the Kings for the first time in nearly a decade and take to the ice in his 6th year with the team. That said, his time on the roster would be incredibly brief. After scoring 7 points in his first 15 games of the season, it was announced that Cammalleri had been traded to the Edmonton Oilers on November 14, 2017, in exchange for fellow aging forward Jussi Jokinen. Though it may seem a little harsh to trade away a player who had just reunited with his former franchise, it is rumoured that Cammalleri had asked to be traded as he was unhappy with his role as a depth player on the team, and he wasn't too pleased about being made a healthy scratch on 2 separate occasions already that year. I'm not sure a 36-year-old coming off his least productive season in years has much influence on where he gets to play in the lineup, but what do I know, I'm just some guy talking on YouTube. From there, the Canadian forward would spend the rest of the season with the Oilers, and though he would continue to produce respectable numbers, they would gradually decline once again, as he scored 22 points in 51 games, to bring his full season totals to 7 goals and 29 points in 66 games. Once his 1-year contract had expired, and having produced his worst offensive output in nearly a decade, it appears as if Camalleri's lengthy journey in the NHL had finally come to an end. Whether he decided to call it a day on his career, or no team offered him a contract for the following season, Cammalleri hasn't suited up in either the NHL or any other professional hockey league around the world since 2018, nor has he officially announced his retirement from the sport. This means that after parts of 15 seasons in the NHL, Mike Cammalleri finished his career having scored an impressive 249 goals and 642 points in 906 regular season games, along with 32 points in 32 playoff games. However, though he doesn't play in the league anymore, Cammalleri is still getting paid by an NHL team. Thanks to his buyout from the Devils back in 2017, the now former forward has earned nearly $1.7 million every year since, with the final payment being made during the current 2021 season. This means that until the current year has concluded, Cammalleri continues to have a presence in the league as he is still on the Devils' payroll. Maybe that's why he hasn't retired yet then. But I digress. Following his exit from the league, Cammalleri seems to have distanced himself from a career in hockey, as there is no record of him being employed within the sport at any kind of level since his stint with the Oilers. Instead, the now 39-year-old appears to be working as the co-CEO of BioSteel Sports Nutrition, a company he co-founded back in 2009, which provides training and nutrition products for athletes. The most recent news I have found regarding Camalleri's endeavours date back to October of 2019, when the company began making products which contain CBD, the non-psychoactive extract of cannabis, which Cammalleri first tried as an alternative to painkillers in order to recover from an injury during his career. So after leaving the league behind nearly 3 years ago, Mike Cammalleri has replaced his hockey jersey with a fancy suit as he tries his hand at being a successful businessman instead. If his 15-year, 642-point career is anything to go by, I wouldn't be surprised to see Cammalleri find plenty of success in his more recent endeavours. If things don't work out for him though, he's made over $60 million during his NHL career, so provided he's been smart with his money, he should have more than enough to enjoy a long and happy retirement. I certainly wouldn't complain with that kind of money, would you folks? And there you go. That's what happened to Mike Cammalleri. What do you guys think about Camalleri's NHL career? Was it good, bad, or do you think he deserved to play another year in the league? Let me know in the comments below, I would love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching, guys, I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye! A big thank you to Carl Fairbank, Chris Gadsby, Connor B, Drew Fawcett, Houston NG, Jordan Whitehead, Tom from Finland, and Worthless Pieces for helping support this video via Patreon. If you too want to help support the channel a little bit further and get a shout out at the end of every future video, make sure you head over to patreon.com/oddmanrush and become a patron today.